from West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Support for the following is provided by the West Virginia Department of Education and West Virginia Public Broadcasting. Hey! Hey everyone, it's Education Station!
Hi, and welcome back to Education Station. I'm your host, Alex Milanese. Education Station is a show where we invite teachers from all across West Virginia to submit videos of themselves teaching their favorite lessons. In today's episode, we've got 3 exciting lessons from the Nicholas County Career and Technical Center. So we're kicking off today's episode with Mr. Bailey, who has a fun art lesson and challenge that you can try at home. Let's check it out.
Hey guys, I'm Mr. Bailey from the Nicholas County Career and Technical Center. I teach graphic design here, and our students are working on a big project, and we actually need your help to complete the project. So today I'm going to do a really quick demonstration on how we can draw some monsters using ordinary letters. And then after our demonstration, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about how your monster can be featured in a coloring book that's going to be distributed statewide. So guys, let's get started with our demonstration today. So if you like to draw, then I'm sure at some point in time you've drawn some monsters. I like to draw monsters. I think monsters are cool. I want to show you how you can take an ordinary letter and kind of imagine that it's part of that monster and figure out how to draw the monster off of that letter. So I'm just going to demonstrate really quickly a few different letters that you can do that with. So for this one, I'm going to start off with the letter C. So I'm just going to draw a C. When I look at that C, I think, that might look like the mouth of a monster. So that's what I'm going to turn it into. I'm going to make that the monster's mouth, and I'm going to draw a big tongue sticking out of the monster's mouth, and I'm going to put some teeth in there. So I'm going to do some squared off teeth and have them all different sizes because he's got some messed up teeth. And I'm going to draw kind of the back of the monster's mouth there inside. So then what else does a monster need? I think a monster needs like some big eyes. I think this monster would have great big eyes. So I'm going to put some big eyes just sitting right up on top of its mouth there. And then we're going to have it kind of looking down, so I'm just going to real quickly draw in some pupils there, that monster looking down. And then for its body, I want its body to just kind of be a big rounded body. So I'm going to come off of this eyeball here. I'm just going to draw a big body that comes off on that monster. And then for its legs, I think I'll do like just some big kind of round legs. They kind of come up, and then I'm going to erase inside of that leg there because that's the leg that's on the front. And then I'm going to draw another little foot sticking out of the back of the monster there. And then I think this monster should have some big spikes that are kind of wavy coming off of its back. So we're going to draw some spikes that come off the back of the monster. And then let's put some different colors. We'll go inside of those spikes. And you know what, I don't even want him to have any arms. I think he looks good just like that. So once I have this monster done, then I want to color him and make him look super, super creative. So I think that I'll do some purple on the inside of his spikes here. And then let's see, let's do this blue color on the body. And actually, I may fade it down. I may do 2 colors. So I'll start off and color the whole top of him blue. And I'm going to fade that in to some green. And then we can go in and color his teeth. I think his teeth need to be orange too. He's got some nasty looking teeth. He's been eating some Cheetos and got some orange teeth there. And then we'll do a red tongue. And then I'll just use my black here, and we'll just color the back of his mouth black. So there's how you can take a C. Actually, you know what? I want to throw some eyebrows on him. They're just sticking up, floating in the midair there. So there's how you can take the letter C, turn it into a mouth, and make a monster out of it. All right, so how about we try another letter and see what we can come up with. So for this one, I think I'm going to use an O. So I'm going to start over here. I'm going to draw an O, and I want that to be the head of the monster that we're going to do. And for this one, I think I want to make it kind of like a fish. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to draw a fish's body coming off of it, make it kind of pointy there with a big old fin that sticks off the back of the fish. And then I'm going to take I want some spikes on him too. I like spikes. So I'm going to put some spikes all the way around on the fish. And you know what, I want it to be kind of like an octopus. So I'm gonna draw a big tentacle that comes off of him. And then I'm gonna erase inside that because it's sticking on the front of his body. And I'm gonna put like little suction cups across that tentacle like an octopus would have. And then on his head, I want this thing to have like a ton of eyeballs. So we're just gonna do a bunch of eyeballs. You can do big eyeballs and small eyeballs. We're just gonna cover his head in eyeballs and then have him look in all kinds of different directions. And then let's put a big spike. I think he needs a big horn on his head right there. So we'll have a horn sticking out of the front of this monster. So like I said, guys, there's no rules to this. You just be creative as you want and make up your own thing. And then I want this guy to be striped. So we're gonna draw some stripes on him. And then once I've got him drawn there, I'm pretty happy with how he turned out there. I'm gonna grab my coloring pencils, or you can use crayons. And I'm just gonna color him in really quickly. All right, so there's our O monster. All right, I'm gonna try another one, but this time let's do the letter S. So for the S, I'm thinking that, you know, an S makes sense that it's a snake, right? So how can we make this snake? I'm gonna take this top section of the snake and I'm gonna turn that into its head. So I'm actually just gonna come around and I'm gonna draw like a gnarly looking upper mouth and then come down and draw the bottom part of his mouth there. So now we got this nasty looking mouth on this snake, and then I want some eyeballs that set up on top of the snake. And then I'm gonna erase inside of the eyeballs there because his head doesn't go inside of his eyeballs. And I'm gonna just put some pupils down at the bottom here of the snake. And I want some like big bushy eyebrows sticking off of that snake. You got eyebrows attached to his eyeballs. And then we're gonna come around and we're gonna use this as kind of the middle. We're gonna make his belly. So we're gonna give him a big snake belly here. It's gonna come around and connect there, and then this is gonna go up into a tail. And then his tail is gonna swoop around and connect back in there. So now we've got the snake there, and you know what? This snake likes to walk on land. So I'm gonna draw some legs with a couple big toes on this snake there, and then just a couple of his toes sticking out on the back there. So now this snake can walk around. I wanna stripe his belly here. He's a striped snake. And then what else do we need? Do we need spikes on the snake? I think we need spikes on the snake. I like spikes on all my monsters. So we're gonna do some little spikes across the snake there. So then, same thing with this one. We're gonna just throw some collar on him. So there, guys, is real quick, an S turned into a snake monster. Now guys, these are just some examples of some things you can do with monsters. I did not intend for this to be a step-by-step do what I do. I just wanted to get you guys being creative and kind of giving you the letters as a kickoff point to make your own monsters. So when you do these, guys, please be as creative as you can be. Use fire-breathing monsters. You can have horns, you can have fins, anything you want, wings on them. Put lots of color in them. Just make them very, very creative. So now that you've seen my demonstration, it's time for you to be creative and draw your own monsters. Then your monsters have a chance to be featured in a coloring book that's going to be distributed statewide. So let me tell you a little bit about how that's going to happen. So once your monster is completed and you're super happy with it, I want you to grab an adult and then have your adult, so it can be a parent in your house, or it can be your teacher in a classroom if you're doing this at school. And you're going to take a really good photo of that drawing. Once you have that photo, you're going to email it to me. The email address is mrbaileydesign@mail.com. Included with the photo, I need your name, the school you attend, and what grade you're in. And this is open to all students in the state of West Virginia in elementary school, so K through 5 in the state of West Virginia. Once my students receive those emails, then we will go through them and pick the 30 best drawings that we think in all the submissions. Those 30 drawings will then be professionally illustrated by my students here in our graphic design class, and then we will take those illustrations and turn them into a coloring book. Once we have the coloring book done, thanks to the Department of Career and Technical Education at the West Virginia Department of Ed, there's a grant that is going to fund the coloring books for the entire school of the 30 winners. So you have a chance to win a coloring book set for everybody in your school. So I'm really excited to see what you guys do. So get to drawing and send me those submissions. They're due by October 31st. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Bailey. And don't forget, if you want a chance to win a set of coloring books for your entire school, be sure to send your picture to Mr. Bailey Design at mail.com by October 31st for your chance to win. Okay, next up, we're going to visit Mr. Odell, who's going to show us how mathematics applies to a real-world carpentry scenario. Let's check it out.
Hi, everybody. My name's Mr. Odell. I'm the carpentry teacher here at Nicholas County Career and Technical Center, and I want to talk to you today a little bit about the Pythagorean theorem. The reason being is oftentimes I have students who come into my class who have done the Pythagorean theorem. They probably learned it maybe in the 6th, 7th grade, somewhere along there, and maybe hasn't used it much since. But once they come in, we start using the Pythagorean theorem, you know, the bell goes off, say, hey, you know, we're actually going to use this. So if you happen to be sitting, you know, in a math class, a geometry class, thinking, you know, I'll never use this, but I do have a couple examples of how it's used in the construction industry. Actually, it's used quite often. I use it a lot myself and have for years. So let's get started. If you look here, when talking about the Pythagorean theorem, I'm not going to go into the history or the theory behind it. Basically what it is you know, you got legs, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And what we're ultimately looking for is, here where the question mark is C, or the hypotenuse. I'm sure you've heard hypotenuse for years now, if you're above that grade level. So if we'll step over here and look, I've got a couple of examples of common things that we do in the construction industry. Let's say this is a garage, 24 by 32 garage, which is you know, a common size for a garage. But if you look at this picture, you know, it actually is a parallelogram. It's not square, so to speak. In industry, we call it racked. As you can see, the two sides, I mean, all the sides are equal. 24 here, 32, and 32, they're all equal, but it's not square, or not the same measurement across here. As you can see, this measurement is longer. But if you set over here, you can see that this rectangle actually is square, which means it's not square because it's different sizes, but it's square because all the corners are at 90 degrees. So when we go out to lay out the foundation for this garage, it would sure be nice if we know what this measurement was. So before we go out, because it will save a bunch of time. Yes, we could continue to measure this one, you know, move the stakes, move our forms around until we got the same distance from here to here and here to here. But it takes a lot of time. So you'd be much better off if you know what this diagonal measurement is. So let's put the Pythagorean theorem to the task here. Again, let's just start with the basic formula. Okay, so let's continue to fill in the equation. So let's call this leg A, this leg will be the B leg, and this will be C, or our hypotenuse. So A is 32 squared plus 24 squared equals C squared. So now, I've got some cheat sheets here. 32 times 32, which is 32 squared, is 1,000. and 24. Okay, 24 squared is 576. Equals C squared. So now we're going to add these together, which will give us 1600 equals C squared. Now, in order to find what C is, we have to do the same thing to each one. So let's find the square root of 1600 and square root of C squared. Obviously, this is going to equal C. So all we got to do is punch 1600 into our calculator and hit the square root, which gives us 40. So your answer is 40 feet. So this distance we know will be 40 feet when we go out to the job site. All right, guys, we're back. We just came in. We was out in the shop. We've got a miniature building out there that we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem to determine rafter lengths. And we're actually going to go out once we determine the length and actually cut those rafters. Again, trying to show you how the Pythagorean theorem applies in real-world situations. So let's get started. Again, the formula is real easy to remember. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay, so our building was 96 inches wide. We had to divide that in half, which left us with 48. And also we have a rise of 20 inches. We had a slope of 512. We used that slope to determine the height of our rise. So let's make the 48 our A leg, the 20 our B leg, and of course our C leg is the hypotenuse, which is actually what we're looking for. Okay, so A squared is 48. Just move this down here. And our B leg is 20 squared equals C squared. So now let's do the math. 48 squared is 2304. 20 squared is 400, and that equals C squared. Now, let's add those two together, see what we come up with, which is 2704 equals C squared. All we have to do now is find the square root of these two. Okay, this one's easy enough. It's gonna, once we do the square root on it, it's gonna equal C, and the square root of 2704 is 52 inches. So this length, or our rafter length, is going to be 52 inches. So let's head out to the shop and see if we can get one. Actually, we're going to have to cut two, but let's see if we can get two of those cut and see how it works out. And there, guys, you have it. Using the Pythagorean theorem to determine rafter length and cut them and apply it to the real-world applications. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Mr. Odell. So for our final stop today, Mrs. Cooper is going to share a fun math game that you can play at home with your family. Let's check it out.
So hello, my name is Mrs. Cooper and I teach at the Nicholas County Career and Technical Center. I teach business and careers in education. One of the projects that I will be doing with my student teachers this year is having them create games for students to play to address skills that they may be weak in. And I know that teachers and students have all been having to log into so much technology this year that I really want to focus on unplugging. And I want to get back to just some simple basics, some twists on some classic games that you can create with just anything that is laying around your house. So for this game, I'm going to teach you to create a game to practice your 8s multiplication tables. And 8s are one of those times tables that kids seem to have a hard time remembering. So if they engage in a fun game, then they may remember it a little better. I also like this idea because some of my best memories as a child were going to my grandparents' house and playing games, and they usually involved math. So it made me feel smart. So I encourage you, if you're a grandmother or a grandfather, a parent, to let your children create these games and play them with them. So I'm going to get started. You need 3 sheets of paper. I've got colored paper. You can use white paper. It doesn't have to be any certain color. Just regular paper will do. And we're going to take 3 sheets of paper, a pair of scissors. So that's what you need to start with. So I'm going to fold this paper so I can create my cards for my game. So I'm just going to do, first I'm going to start with what teachers like to call a hot dog fold. I'm going to fold my paper in half, the hot dog fold. Then I'm going to fold it one more time like that. One more hot dog fold. So this is what you should end up with. Then I'm going to straighten it back out. And again, I'm doing all 3 sheets at one time. And then I'm going to do a hamburger fold. So we'll fold it this way and do it one more time. So it should look like this. Now, when you unfold your paper, you will see that you have lines and you've created 16 cards, 16 squares. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut those. Okay, so now we have all of our cards. So what we need to do next is we need to create our game pieces. So our game pieces, I'm going to use a Sharpie marker, but make sure if you're doing this that you use a pen or a marker that doesn't bleed through to the other side, because you have to be able to turn these over and not see them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with writing all of the products of 8. So I'm thinking, a product is an answer to a multiplication problem. So, and I'm going to start, you can think of, and even if you want to write the problem, you can do that if that helps. You can do 8 times 0 equals. Okay, so hopefully, your child will know that 8 times 0 is 0. So I've got one set. Okay, keep going. Do 8 times 1 equals. And hopefully your child will know that 8 times 1 equals 8. And so on. We are creating our sets. So I'll do just a couple more of these. 8 times 2, and I'll do 16. All right, so I've started one set, and I'm just going to put those over to the side. I also want to show you that I'm going to teach a little vocabulary. Your kids have learned what they call turnaround facts, but this is something actually called the commutative property of multiplication, which just means you can put those in any order. You can put the factors in any order. For example, this is the 0 times 8 equals, we know that also equals 0. So you can see 8 times 0 is 0, well, 0 times 8 is 0. So that's the commutative property. So then you got 1 times 8 equals 8. So notice I'm going to have both sets. They'll learn the commutative property and they'll learn all of the products or multiples of 8. I'm only going to go up to 10 for this game. When they master up to 10, encourage them to go up to 15. But I'm going to put away what I've been showing you how to create these game pieces, and I'm going to pull out the ones I've already got created. All right, so the cards that you made, once you cut your 3 sheets of paper, you're going to end up with 44 cards total. And how I'm going to start is down one side of my game board or my gameplay area, I'm going to arrange my facts. Now, remember when I set all my facts up and I wrote down the products or the answers to each of my problems, I ended up having 2 of each card. And we're going to play the memory game. And the memory game is a classic. And this is just a mathematical twist on a classic game, or you could call it Math Unplugged. No technology involved. Okay, so I shuffled my cards and I'm going to lay them out. So we've got our gameplay area set up, and so we play memory. So I'm going to turn over a card. Okay, I've got a 24. I want to find a match for a 24. I'll check here. Oh, 32. I didn't get it. So if you were playing with a partner, it would be the partner's turn now. But remember where those two numbers are. And what's important about those numbers is they are both multiples of or products of 8. So students, whenever they play this game over and over again, they're going to remember, hey, 24 has a certain relationship to 8. 32 has a certain relationship to 8. So it's going to, they're going to become familiar with those numbers. 72. Oh, they're right next to each other. Okay, so here's the thing. I've got a match, but now I need to find the fact that that product goes with. In 72, I can tell you that this is a hard one. You know, this is a hard one for kids if they're just memorizing their facts and haven't learned them yet. But hopefully they'll remember that if they look at 8 times 9, that is 72. And so if 8 times 9 is 72, then they need to realize that the commutative property says that 9 times 8 is also 72. So they've got a match. And then they can continue, or if it's, you know, let them kind of make their rules if they want the next person to go, or if they want to time themselves. But one rule I do think is important is first let them create the game, but then also make them say it. Make them say the numbers when they turn them over, make them say the facts whenever they match them, because it's going to help them remember. If you're playing with your child or you're watching this and they make a mistake, they match the wrong cards, let them move on with it. Don't correct them right away, because they're going to find as they continue playing the game in the next turn or two, there's going to come a fact and like, oh, that went with that one. Let them figure out their own mistake and trace their matches back to fix it, so they can learn from their mistakes. It's a safe game, safe place to play. Let them learn from their mistakes. They'll be more confident and they'll remember it better. So there's relationships in math, patterns in math. The more that kids play games and engage with this and make good memories with parents and aunts and uncles and grandparents, the more confident they'll feel. And confidence in math is a huge strength as they progress up through high school, middle school. All right, that's really all I have today, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you can unplug the technology and just enjoy playing some math games with the children in your life.
Thanks, Mrs. Cooper. All right, well, that wraps up everything for us here today on Education Station. We want to thank everyone who shared their awesome lessons, and we want to thank you for watching. We'll see you next time right here on Education Station.